everyone, it's Desiree, and I am here with Simon Says Stamp Card Kit for September 2018, and yes, I am always late to the game, but again, I am here to give you inspiration, maybe show you a few new techniques, but just have fun. So you can see this kit came with some wonderful things, some embossing powder, a couple distress oxides, and of course, as always, a beautiful stamp set. So let's look at card number 1. So for a few of the images, I did color them ahead of time. And yes, my mermaid has purple hair. Why, you may ask? Maybe you don't, but I'm going to tell you anyway. I have purple hair. Yes, my hair is actually purple. It's awesome! So I took a couple of okay, back to the card. So I took a couple of dies. I took a stitch rectangle and I used my favorite things, stitched rectangle cutout. And I cut out my panel and I'm using the sentiment, she is a mermaid on dry land and the world is her ocean. I just fell in love with that sentiment. I fell in love with its look and everything else. Of course, I'm getting ink all over the place and I have an extremely bright Band-Aid on because yeah, I'm having fun with cutting my fingers, obviously. I'm going to take this panel and I'm going to prop it up and load it up with some double-sided foam tape. And this is actually going to go straight down onto my standard A2 size card base, which is a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 top folding. I cut a piece of the awesome Tonic Studios paper that came in the kit as well. And I just thought it was perfect to have that in the background, as if, you know, when we're in our homes, we look out our windows, we see the world, and I thought it was fitting with the sentiment. She's looking through the window, and her world is her ocean. So, very symbolic, because, again, we have opportunities for everything, and that's how vast it can be. So I'm just now, once I have that set down onto my card base, I'm going to make sure that there's foam tape in certain areas of her because she is going to go into that window a little bit. I'm going to also use my liquid glue for when she sits on top of my panel. And I'm just going to make it look like she's kind of sitting on that windowsill, or making it look like she's sitting on a windowsill. I pulled out the Nouveau glaze. One thing that I like about this is, first of all, it's great to use, but when it dries, it almost has a sheen to it. I don't know. I can't describe it. Now, it could be because it's, you know, aging. I don't know. But I just really liked the look. I also pulled out my White Blizzard. And what's great with White Blizzard for the Nouveau drops is the iridescent glitter that's through it. And when it dries, it does dry clear. So the color that you have underneath will shine through, and what's left is the glitter that you see in it. So I accented her tail, and I accented the shell that is in her hand. So again, I stamped the chest, and I already colored that with matte alcohol markers and a couple pieces of the seaweed. So again, a lot of my coloring is done prior when I do a 5-card 1 kit, just to save some time. I do try to keep them in a certain time, but I want to show you techniques. So I cut out my panel. Again, I used one of my stitched rectangle dies, and I wanted to, as always, play with the distress oxides, and this is Tumbled Glass and Stormy Sky. Those two full-size did come in the kit. Well, of course, they are full-size. They don't come in the minis. And I just laid down some water, and I'm dropping down these two colors in from my craft mat, because I wanted a base. I just wanted that background base, because now I'm actually going to do some ink smushing. So I'm going to add a little bit more water, and I'm just going to drop. I actually want this to look like waves in the background. So when you ink smush on top of a wet surface, it kind of blends. It's going to blend into that. And that's kind of, it's really what I was looking for. And I want it to come from the bottom. So the bottom's a little bit darker, and you can see me, I'm tapping into that stormy sky. The stormy sky it's like a a gray, blue, purple going on there. It's almost like a grayed lavender color, which is, I think, very interesting. So I really focused that on the bottom, and you can see it just creeps up onto the panel that I designed on. I'm going to adhere one of the seaweed that I colored, again, using my alcohol markers. And this was a combination of my Stampin' Up! Blends and my Prismacolors. And now I'm just placing, I did keep some extra cardstock after I cut them out because, again, playing with placement gave me room, gave me the ability to move things around and just have fun with it. With these, even though it's the same stamp, you can get different looks just on the position. So you can make it look shorter, you can make it look taller, you could cut in between it to make it skinnier. So again, look outside of your images that you're stamping and you can get different results just from placement and cutting. Once they were set, I'm going to trim off just the bottom. I like it when items hang off the side of the design area. It gives it some movement, gives it some continuation. And of course, I noticed when I placed this one, I didn't go down far enough so you still saw the white. So I just added some of the dark green at the bottom there and just came back up on it. It blended well. I'm going to take my panel, use my tape runner, and place that onto my 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 top folding card base. Then I grabbed my Gold Coast glitter drops by Nouveau. Now, these look like a hot mess when you put them on. They look very cloudy, they look gray, they look horrible. But when this dries, you see all that gold glitter. So I wanted to also use the sequins that came in the kit, and I'm literally taking the sequins and pushing them down into the glitter drops. So it's going to look like all of this gold is just coming out of the chest, if that makes sense. It does. It looks horrible. I actually waited, or I tried to wait, when I took the photos to wait until that was dry so that the gel that's with it would get clear so that you could see what I was talking about. Right now, you see this gray and this cloudiness going on there. I also realized as I was doing that, I forgot to color a section of my chest. So I'm just coming in with my couple of Prismacolor markers there just to fill those areas in. And I'm also going to grab my Nouveau Midas Touch. Now, this is just like the regular sparkle pens that we use, whether it's Spectrum or Wink of Stella or the Nouveau ones. But this actually has a gold tint to it. Some gold glitter, so I just wanted to add that for some accents. What's great with the oxides, you can stamp with them, so I used the Stormy Sky for my sentiment. See treasure in the simple things. Yeah, I'm going to have problems with that word, so get ready. It's going to be a fun video. And I just added some more of the glaze drops to come up from the bottom and the chest. So for card number 3, yes, I did my painted up or colored my girl already. Now for her fin, the body of her fin, I used one of this product. It's called Glitter Accents by Nouveau, and it's Atlantic Drift. And this is, if you're a glitter person, that product is for you. You can use it like the drops. You can use it to color in a solid or an image like I did, and you get solid coverage. I mean, it is pure glitter. There's little liquid, which is awesome. So you can add some great texture. The funny thing with this, you can see I'm doing my background, and I did speed this up. I wanted you to see it. Now, this is a piece of Bristol, and I just took the pad this is not a piece of Bristol. That's what I thought I grabbed. I grabbed a piece of regular cardstock. So you can see that when I put the pad directly down onto the paper, it wasn't blending well because it was regular cardstock. But that's okay. We keep moving. I just grabbed a brush added some water, and I'm able to move it. And you can see just how well it does move. Now, you don't want to play with it too much when you're on regular cardstock because it will pill, so you want to be careful. I then grabbed a brush and just did splatters, the dark in the light area, and then I did the tumble glass down in the light area just to give it some texture and differences there, so it looks like it's splashing up. I used my stitch rectangle die by Lawn Fawn to cut out my panel, and then I also have these two here, the glitter paper that came in the kit, and then of course another piece of that Tonic Studios paper. And I'm going to use my Lawn Fawn waves. So even though I'm covering up that blue at the bottom, I just wanted these 3 different textures to be on my panel, and I wanted her to come out of one of the waves. So it's kind of looking, and I'm placing my sentiment there that says make a wish upon a starfish, because that's what she has in her hand. So I'm going to emboss that, and I find I do like the Simon Says clear embossing ink. Here's what I like about it. I like the pad. I do like the Versamark as well. It's a staple, but I like the pad in the Simon Says. It's firmer, where the Versamark is very spongy. I don't know if anybody else finds that, but sometimes I'm a heavy stamper. I put a lot of weight, so I sink down into it, so I get it all over the place. I had a little bit of pushback from the Simon Says pad, so I really like that. So I was glad I've gotten one of those. Once I have my sentiment heat set with the Mermaid embossing powder in the kit, I'm going to adhere my panel down onto my 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 top folding card base using my art glitter glue. And I'm going to set that down, and I'm also going to make sure that there's some weight on it, because again, regular piece, see, I'm using the 2 Simon Says stamp just to make sure that that dries flat. Again, regular cardstock. Thought I grabbed Bristol. It bent, it warped, it had all kinds of fun, so I just wanted to make sure that was flat. I'm going to use some double-sided foam squares to prop up the other wave on top of the glitter paper, and then that's going to sit down at the bottom as well. I'm going to adhere this whole panel using my liquid adhesive, my art glitter glue, down onto my card base as well. Now, for my mermaid, again, I wanted her to come up out of the water, so I'm going to put her in position. She is going to hang over. I'm keeping my finger there, using scissors the wrong way, but they do cut, and I just put a small slit in that paper so that you could see her tail, but then not the rest of her body. So it looks like she is coming up and out of the water. So piece of scissors, you can do that, but I don't recommend holding them the way that I did, but I didn't want to lose my spot where that was going to sit. I did also, underneath her fin, for her tail, I did put a double-sided foam square, a small piece under that, because she was sitting on top of that one wave that I had already propped up, so I just wanted to keep that even. I grabbed my white Blizzard glitter drops just to accent her tail, because we cannot have enough glitter on this panel with her tail and her headband and her shells. It's all over the place. And then I added some drops coming up from her as well. So for card number 4, now I'm sure this has been done by somebody, but I grabbed my vellum and I wanted some softness because I'm going to use the mermaid sitting on the rock. Yes, I liked the purple hair, and I was really stuck with the teal tail for her. Why? Because I took these to color somewhere and I forgot other colors, but I liked the theme I was doing here. I took care of my sentiment. There are a million fish in the sea, but you are a mermaid, and I have that in the upper right hand corner. So now I'm just cutting some pieces of vellum. Now, what I wanted to try, and again, I am sure somebody else has done this. I know that we can use our alcohol markers on vellum to give them colors, but I wanted to see what the oxides would do. I'm just taking the pad directly down onto the vellum. It does bubble up, or you know what I mean when I say bubble up. It's like those new stamps, you know, the ink doesn't lay flat, it bubbles up. It did this too, and I grabbed one of my towels and I wiped it off. Now remember, these are pigment and dye, so they are damp. You do have to let them dry. But I just kept on doing this. And I did this for multiple panels. I would put it on and I would wipe it off. And you can see up on the top there, it's holding on to the color. And you can try to wipe it away later on and a little bit more will come off. But once it's dry, it doesn't come off anymore. Like I'm sitting here right now that you all can see, I'm sure. I'm taking my finger and I'm rubbing on my card, the finished card, and it's not coming up on my finger. But it just gives the vellum a little bit of color. So if you don't want to get a pack of, you know, the colored vellums, I know they're out there. If you have your oxides, now again, I say the oxides because that's what I used. I will be trying this with dye inks. I think you can do it with dye inks as well, I'm sure. I pulled out those wave dyes again, and I'm going to do 3 layers. So I'm just laying them across, and you can see it did hold on to the colors. Make sure it's dry though when you're taping down your dyes, because it can lift some of the color. But what I really liked about this, you can kind of see it here that you have these color differences, because I'm going to use my stitched rectangle to cut all 3 of these at once, because vellum isn't as thick. You can do that. But when I put it on this panel, you can just see the difference in the colors. I know, can you hear my excitement for this? Again, I am sure somebody else did this. This is a first for me. And if you guys haven't seen it, then it's a first for you too. Now, I know you're probably going, oh, we're going to see all that glue that she's putting down there. But if you notice, I'm only putting the glue down towards the bottom. Because as the glue dried, it actually waved these pieces of vellum. So it's really, it added some great texture. It actually looks like waves, and we're going to hide that. I mean, you can't see it a lot, but we will hide that. I tucked her within one of the waves, like the rock was coming out, even though you can't see it coming down through the bottom. You know, I probably could have stamped, you know, or made more rocks, you know, to come through, but I was just really excited that came out that way, because wow, the possibilities. Just a regular pack of vellum, and if you've got these oxides, what I'm showing here, you can have any color that you want. So I think that's really cool. I stamped my sentiment, Mermaid looks good on you, and I used one of, I got the Simon Says sentiment dies, the whole pack that they had. So I pulled one of those out because it just helps me to cut a straight line, because I just can't. And I'm just going to place that right over the glue area. So only you guys and anybody that watches this video will know. But you cannot see it. It is hidden really well. But it was, it just, as this dried, it really did more things. But I do like the softness that it came, that it provided onto my design base. I grabbed my Gold Coast, the gold glitter, not the white, the iridescent glitter, and I'm just putting some drops all around my card, and I accented all of her shells that are on her, just to give a little bit more. Of course, I did that before I glued the panel down to my standard A2 size card base. So we're going to use our liquid adhesive, and we're going to put that right down, making sure that I don't put my fingers in the drops. It came close. I was worried too as I was doing it. So for card number 5, I pulled out my Blick colored pencils, which are really good. I really like them. They have great pigment. They blend very well. So if you're looking for a set, you don't want to have the Faber-Castells or the Prismacolors. These are extremely comparable. I really like them. For those of you that have seen my videos before, I am a colored pencil. That is my medium, coloring medium of choice. So I have lots of sets. Back to the card. So I positioned these smaller stamps kind of in a circle. And I had them already set up in my stamp positioner, and the sentiment I chose is beauty comes from within. So again, to save some time, I did do all of the coloring off screen. But what I did want to show you is if you want to create a shadow with colored pencils, you can do that. So I just use a couple blues and went around like an outline on each image. I'm not worried about fading it out. I just want that hue of color in the background, and I did it for the sentiment as well. Even though it's a one-layer card, it adds dimension for that. I wasn't worried about light source or anything else. I was just worried about getting these to look like they were popped up off of the panel. I did use one of my stitch rectangle dies to cut this out, and it is the same size of my standard A2 size card base. At first I used the white blizzard. I changed my mind. So using your scissors carefully, do not do what I do and cut yourself. Removing them from that pearl, I wanted to use the gold. And I wanted to cover that gold up, that gold pearl with the Gold Coast drops. So I just keep adding to it and making it bigger. I'm going to add a few of the gold drops throughout my piece. And then I'm going to pull out those two Distress Oxides again for the bubbles. I wanted to use those little bubbles. So for some of them, I used the color straight. For other ones, I would go into the light and then just lightly on the corner of one or towards the bottom, use that there. So I got a blended effect going through the bubbles and was just having fun adding them all throughout my card. So again, you can add your shading. I just wanted you to see what I did on that outline there. Of course, we always have our close-ups, and these are at regular speed so that you can actually see them just a little bit, see things a little bit close up. So I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Would love to have you here as part of my community. If you have any questions or comments, make sure leave those down below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. As I said, I know I'm always late to the game here, but my videos are for inspiration and maybe teach you just something maybe you didn't know or something that you're interested in trying. That's what I'm all about. I want you to get into your rooms, be creative, have fun with it, try new things, try different things. I have not tried anything that I've tried has not made something blow up. So be encouraged by that. I will always let you know if it does. All of the products that I did use outside of the kit and even some of the items with the kit will be listed down below if you wanted to check them out and see what else is available through the different areas. I hope everyone's having a great day. This is a beautiful weekend for us. For once, we're not having rain and fall is definitely coming in. But always remember what's most important. For me, always remember, be creative.